Jesus' betrayal and arrest in Gethsemane.
Yay. Very
Eh,
good.
no,
And
not
this is
yet.
Matthew 26, and we're starting in verse 47,
47.
I think.
Yep.
All right.
And while he was speaking, behold, Judas, one of the 12, with a great multitude, with swords and clubs, came from the chief priests and elders of the people. So, like,
Mm,
Jesus is just speaking, and Judas is coming in with the crowd.
yeah, he's just saying that thing in the last verse, right? I mean, rise
Hey,
up
my
and then,
betrayer at hand.
yes.
Well, here he
And
is.
then there he is, exactly.
Now his betrayer had given them a sign, saying, whomever I kiss, he is the one. Seize him. Immediately he went up to Jesus and said, Greetings, Rabbi, and kissed him. But Jesus said to him, Friend, why have you come?
Even though he knew,
You know, I
he knew.
guess. Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and took him. Then they And suddenly one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest, and cut off his ear. So he's about to save him.
I know.
But Jesus said to him, Put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me more than 12 legions of angels? You forget who Big Daddy is.
I know. So
Have you
I'm going,
forgotten the things I did? But I can't say that right now because I'm being arrested.
but he did say it. He said it.
Right, so she said it like that.
Oh, yes, he didn't say it like John said it. Now, a trivia question in between.
Hmm?
I'll give you one guess as to which one of the disciples would have done that.
Would have done what?
Would taken a sword and cut off his ear.
How many
Because
knowledge tokens am I gonna get?
oh, because
I
it's
said
it's
a
wrote
thousand.
in it's wrote in John. That's how we know.
I guarantee you it's Peter.
Yeah. full full token fill up.
Oh, we got thousand. We got thousand token bucks.
Yeah. So interesting. I'll read it for you. This is John 18:10. Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Malchus.
Huh.
So a lot more detail there, right?
True.
But remember that it was that Jesus, like John was there too, so maybe John knew more.
Was
Maybe
it
he had a better
really
angle.
done?
Yeah, and in Matthew, but so it's just a
Yeah.
different way they wrote.
Right. But
But
yeah,
here we are.
he's trying to save him.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes.
Um, how then could the scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen thus? He's like, it's gotta happen this way, dude.
Right.
In that hour, Jesus said to the multitudes, Have you come out against a robber with the sword and clubs to take me? I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and you did not seize me. But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled
Hmm.
after he got arrested.
Yeah, but they're like scared that
Is
they
that
would
not
get.
the second forsaking?
Well, the other one isn't really the first one either. The one
I
you said.
counted. I'll count it as a half.
Okay. Yes, but you'll see what happens later with the denial, which is kind of different. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. But even
Uh,
that part is prophesied that they'll desert him.
he ran away, dude.
I know.
Okay. So Jesus faces the Sanhedrin.
Which is like, the council or the I guess kind of like if someone was taken, they be have to go before the grand jury or something like that, maybe, you know. I mean, I don't have an exact correlation, but something of that nature. Think of it.
If you're trying to knock down the doors and foundations of an institution, they'll probably take you to a Sanhedrin.
Yeah, at this time.
And those who had laid hands on Jesus led him away to Caiaphas and the high priest, who was the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him, at a
Mm.
distance, to the high priest's courtyard, and he went in and sat with the servants to see the end.
So he's not
That must
totally
have been
certain.
awkward.
He's kind of like following along. I know.
Yes, but understand chronologically when we're reading this, if we're reading Matthew first, we don't have the insight that you gave from John. So we don't know that Peter is the one that cut off the ear, right?
Right, right. That's true.
So the
That's
fact that Peter is now sitting with the servants of which he cut one of their ears off.
Or is the servants different than the soldiers? Would that be different? But it'd be still the same side.
He said he
Oh,
went
maybe
in
it
and
is.
sat with the servants to see the end.
Oh, yeah, it might be the same servants. Okay, I got you. Yes, yes.
Oh,
I'm
who
sorry,
knows?
John.
I don't
You're
know. I
right.
don't know. Who
Sometimes
knows?
I miss the thing because it did say servant before. Now that you reminded me.
Oh, wait, he did. If he cut off a soldier's ear, like a Roman soldier's ear, they would have killed everybody.
Yeah, and you in John it did say the servant of the servant of the guard, I guess, you know. But
You
I
would
see
think,
what the
right? Because then there would have been no like
mercy is.
discussion whether or not it was like that would have been an act against a Roman official.
Wow, you're so good, John. I miss the details. But you're right. In John it says Simon Peter having a sword drew it and struck the high priest's servant and cut off his ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Yeah, so that's not. I always thought it was a soldier, but that doesn't make sense. It says, and even in Matthew in 51, it says, struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his head. Oh, well, I'm very sorry. Sorry, everybody. Wow,
Let me tell
that's
you, you're
like,
enlightened.
I know. Really good to say it out loud with people and talk about it because you see things that I mean, as humans, we could skip through things and not see them because we think we know what's there. In my case, I could think I know what's there, so I forget and I miss the details, you know?
Right? No, I'm guilty of the same thing.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you,
Mm.
Lord.
So now they're all sitting together.
Oh, yep, he's hanging out with them.
Now the chief priests, the elders, and all the council sought false testimony against Jesus to put him to death. They're lying.
So they're trying, you're right.
Maybe
So
that's what it means. Like when it talks about Daniel and the lion's den, it's because they're all lying, dude. It's all a metaphor.
they're all lying.
Well, you when you go into a lion's den, you really don't expect to make it out, do you?
No, you're right. And I think it said, but now we can't trust it all, you know, because I didn't know about the servant there. So just read it to be safe. But it says, I think it says that God shut the lion's mouths. But that's a good metaphor too.
They still
Onwards
lying,
we go. I know.
but found none.
Okay. Yay.
Nobody did. Even though many false witnesses came forward, they found none.
I
But at
know.
last, false witnesses came forward. Says text omits false witnesses.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay, so maybe it
Um,
just two came forward
and
and said
said, This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days. So he's saying that's what Jesus
yes.
said?
That's what Jesus said. Now,
Okay.
Jesus did say something similar
Well, he
when he
said he
was
was
talking about
gonna,
it, like in a symbolic way, you know, that he was going to his temple, the body, and he was going to rebuild, he was coming back in 3 days.
so they're taking his words out of context.
I think that that's what's happening. I do think that's what's happening.
I think there might be melding stories as well.
I mean, usually when there's a lie, it's based, like it's so much,
Partly,
right?
partly in truth.
Yes. So in John 2:19, it says, John answered and said to them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. But he's talking about his body. Because then it says in verse 21, but he was speaking of the temple of his body.
Okay.
So that's okay. Perfect.
Who
So
are
in
we?
a way, he's not saying this temple, right? So
Right, he
yeah,
was talking about himself, and they
yes,
think that he's talking about them because they're trying to make him out to be a
right.
DT, which I can't say, but a domestic
Oh yes, yes, I understand.
terrorizer,
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
which like that is that's what I
I mean,
thought.
that's how they see him, all right. The other people probably,
Right.
yes.
They definitely see him like they have their own beliefs and they're seeing him as like, why are you trying to destroy like everything that we built?
Right, right.
I assume that's what I'm
I mean,
it would
no,
be.
I would imagine that some of them are like that for sure. Maybe not everyone, but a lot of people probably do seem like that on
Right. And it's not like if
the
only they
leader.
could have seen, but they were blinded.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the high priest arose and said to him, do you answer nothing? What is it their men testify against you? But Jesus kept silent, and the high priest answered and said to him, I put you under oath by the living God. Tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus said to him, it is as you said. Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man sitting at your right hand of you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power and coming on the clouds of heaven.
Mhm.
Then the high priest tore his clothes, saying, he has spoken blasphemy. He got mad. What further need do we have of witnesses? Look, now you have heard his blasphemy. What do you think? They answered and said, he is deserving of death. Then they spat in his face and beat him, and others struck him with the palms of their hands, saying, prophesy to us, Christ. Who is the one who struck you?
Mhm. So I mean, the blasphemy is because he called himself God, which we know he is, so that's okay, but that's where they can, um, in the
I,
law, he broke the law in that regard for them.
right.
This, and then,
It's just like I know what the next part is, and I know if I was Peter standing there, it's just like, how are you not just wanting to stand up and just like fucking kill everybody?
because,
Right? What
right,
other
but
option
is,
is there for you to realistically get him out of there? And they're not th like
but
for
then
the apostles to betray Jesus, they lost their faith.
it betray him as in when they fled
Not
or deny,
betray him as in like to use betray as in Jesus or Judas did in that
right,
aspect.
but
But to
neglect them.
deny Jesus and to not, although even if Peter did, I'm sure Jesus would have been like, hey, dude, shut up. Remember what I
And
told
right,
you earlier?
and then they knew that Jesus said that it was going to happen. And he already told Peter to put his sword back in his thing after he cut the guy's ear off.
So we're gonna find some peace and we're gonna figure out because in my head, it's like Peter denies Jesus and weeps bitterly. But like denying him wasn't the thing he was supposed to do. So I'm trying to figure out what's the thing we were supposed to do in this situation. If we're presented with the same circumstances, what are we supposed to do then? Because if
Oh,
Peter denies Jesus, what did he do wrong? So we're gonna find out in the next one. Because
Oh,
I think it's probably like you gotta make a ruckus, right?
you gotta
But then
make a
again, that's
oh,
not what they want. So like, that's how they
right.
got into this situation. But it's not how they got into the situation in the first place because it was fabricated to be that way.
So much pondering.
I know.
See you next time.
Um,